Welcome to Everything Life and Financial Freedom. We are your hosts, Linda and Jim McKissack. If you know our story, you know that we went from over $600,000 in debt to having financial freedom. We share some of the insights and practical tips that we've learned over the last 30 years for achieving financial freedom, building wealth, and building an extraordinary life. Let's get started with today's episode. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the importance of getting 5-star reviews on vacation rentals and kind of from an expert on how to do that. So Michelle is someone who honestly, I think probably does one of the best jobs I've ever seen of getting 5-star reviews.
Absolutely. I tell you what, our cabins wouldn't nearly be what they are at Branson Vacation Retreats without Michelle doing what she does to get those great reviews.
So I actually Jimmy was reading one the other day, Michelle, and I made a snapshot of it because I thought, now this is amazing what people say. So will you tell people while I'm looking for this, why is it important if you're going to have vacation rentals to get great reviews?
It's important to get great reviews because when people are looking to book, they're looking at your reviews to try to decide if that's somewhere they'd like to stay or not.
Okay, so it's kind of part of the criteria. I know that especially Press and Anna, we won't eat at a restaurant unless it has a great review or lots of great reviews. So I'm sure it's the same thing as people start to stay in vacation rentals and they accidentally stay in one that isn't very good. Those reviews become more and more important. So this one was from Danielle, and this is kind of the kind of reviews that Michelle has made it her mission to get. It says, "We didn't want to leave. Everything about our stay was perfect. First of all, it was easily the cleanest place I'd ever stayed. The host was friendly and responsive with any correspondence. They thought of absolutely everything one would want or need. They even decorated for Christmas, which was so sweet to walk into a Christmas tree, lights outside, and a wreath to greet you at the door. Our family loved being able to use a fireplace and hot tub. We watched Sunday football fireside while playing the board games they provided and even grilled out on the patio. We cannot wait to come back year after year. Could not recommend more."
Now that's a great review.
That's a great review. So kind of tell us a little bit about what are some of the things that go into getting those kind of reviews, Michelle? What do you on as the host on the other side have to think about or know or do to get those?
So, of course, you have a great place like you guys' place to rent. However, the most important thing to get in a good review is communication. Sometimes things are going to go wrong, but the way that you communicate with the guest and rebound from things that are going wrong helps to make sure that you don't get the bad reviews. You want to communicate prior to the stay, during the stay.
And I would think sometimes people would shy away from when there's a problem, but that's probably the worst thing you can do. Like, right, if somebody's having an issue, I would probably think some people's inclination would be to avoid it, but I would probably bet that that's not what you do.
No, so anytime that a guest mentions something to you, it's a big deal to them. Even if they go, "Oh, don't worry about it, it's okay." It's not really okay because they wouldn't have mentioned it if it wasn't a big deal to them. And so you always want to make that a top priority. You want to get somebody right over, you want to respond quickly and try to take care of the problem or offer an alternative solution.
Yeah, because 9 times out of 10, you can turn a disgruntled fan into a raving fan, I've always thought.
Yes.
Yeah. How many times have you done that, Michelle, where someone came in that had a problem or something and it was really upset? Give us an example of what that's like.
So a lot of times, if people are staying at your vacation rental, if they're going to a wedding or they're part of a wedding, they're already kind of really stressed because it's kind of stressful, especially to be the parents of the bride or something of that nature. And so maybe a commode backs up because everybody's over there and it's the end of the world to them that this is happening, even though you're like, okay, I'm going to get somebody right over there, and they are just going to continue to complain. And usually most messages come through as a text to you, you know, people telling you stuff, because that's all people do now is text. Well, in order to diffuse the situation, you don't want to continue to text with them. You want to pick up the phone and call them and make sure you have a smile on your face and you're pleasant, and you try to bring them down to calm to resolve the issue.
Great points. And most people would just probably want to text back and forth and not have to talk to anybody.
Yeah, because it's not going to start out pleasant.
Yeah. Got to brace yourself for that, right? And you got to realize it's not you that they're upset at. They're upset at the situation. So a lot of what they say is how clean the cabins are. So what are some of the things you do to ensure that the cabins are always clean? So I'm going to venture to bet that if you looked on reviews where people are not happy, one of the things they're not going to be happy about is if it's not clean.
Right. So what I try to do and what we do is that we have property appearance standards, and each one of our cleaners has those standards, and they know what we expect. They sign off on what we expect, and they know that we are going to inspect what we expect. And so then after the cleaners are done, then the inspector is going to go over everything. And if there's something that's wrong, we're going to have the cleaner come back and clean it. So if they know that that's going to happen, just like your kid cleaning the room, if you know, they know they're going to send them back, then they're going to make sure that it's good to begin with. And I'm fortunate to have some really good cleaners that do care and are concerned. But it's always important that even if the vacation rental was cleaned a couple of days ago, that right before somebody checks in, that you want to go back in and double check everything, because you never know, something could have happened and, you know, it gotten back dirty. Maintenance came in to fix something, or a contractor came by, the pest control, and tracked up the house. So you always want to inspect before people arrive to make sure everything's good.
Yeah, good point. So how do you test when you pick the people for cleaning? How do you test? Because you have really been able to get good cleaning people. I mean, I'm sure you had some that didn't work out or whatever, but for the most part, you tend to seem to be able to pick good people that can clean well. So what are some of the ways that you're double checking for that before you hire them?
So a lot of time, the first time that they clean, I'm in there in the vacation rental with them, and anything that I see that's not particularly a way that I would do it, we kind of go over it and we talk about, you know, maybe their idea is better, maybe not. And I kind of just go over, this is what I expect, and this is how I expect to get it done the first time that they clean. Now, some people are going to say yes, and then they're not going to do it. But I've been very fortunate that, you know, I have some really good cleaners that have caught on and continue to produce.
Okay. What are some of the other areas that people mention in their reviews that you notice a lot besides clean? What are some of the other areas that they seem to mention that help get a better review?
The communication.
Okay.
Because communication is the first thing. We message people a couple of days. Well, we send them emails, but a couple of days before their stay, we send them a message and we tell them everything they need to know about coming to the cabin, with a link to a guest book that also goes over everything about the cabin. And then the guest arrives. And so at 9 o'clock on the day after they arrive, we send them a message and say, we're so glad you're here. We strive to obtain 5-star reviews. Is there anything that you've noticed since your arrival that would keep us from getting that 5-star review? If there is, please let us know and we'll handle it right away. And if they do, most of the time they go, thank you, it's great, I'm loving it. But sometimes if they say, oh, by the way, there's a light bulb burn out on the back porch, or anything like that, or they want to know about a show, or then you respond, quickly. And that's the way that if there is something wrong that's bothering them, then they need to mention it then.
Mhm.
And so, Michelle, this is a system that takes place for this to happen. It's not you or, having to really, manually go put out that report or anything or that
Request.
that request in the morning at 9 o'clock.
Correct. We use a app that's integrated with our software that automatically sends it out. The guest doesn't see that it's an app. They think it's directly from us. So they feel like that we're directly communicating with them.
How important is it to maintain the property in great condition?
It is very, very important to maintain the property in great condition. The maintenance also has pre-arrival checklist of things that they're looking at to make sure that everything's in good condition. If
What
there's
would be some of those things?
light bulbs out. The number one thing would be if the internet or the televisions are not working correctly. That would be the number one thing that would cause somebody to give you a bad review. People can be without water and not give you a bad review, but if they cannot connect to Wi-Fi, you're doomed.
Yeah, what about like outside stuff? Like the porches and grills and stuff like that? Is that
Right.
at the same time?
Yes, so we make sure that we clean all of the grills with soap and water every time in between stays. We make sure that the firewood is stocked. We make sure that the porches are blown off, that everything's clean on the porch, that the light bulbs are working, and the hot tubs are in great shape.
Yeah, I noticed hot tubs are something that people tend to really review and rave about also. And they also seem to like, I've noticed because I read quite a few of the reviews, they like the fact that the cabins accommodate large, like, 2 or 3 generations of people so the whole family can come. Is that something that you kind of feel like is important to people?
Yes, it is, because and a lot of times with the bigger cabins, people will rent out 2 or 3 of them close together with all of the family, like for a family reunion, a get together. They're creating memories and that they're going to come back. We have some people that may not rent the large ones, but they rent the small ones up to 10 times a year.
Wow. That's great. It's kind of, the cabin gets a following all of its own, huh?
Yes.
Hello. Thank you for listening to the Everything Life and Financial Freedom podcast. For transcripts, resources, and more, visit the episode page on the podcast website at everythinglifeandfinancialfreedom.com. You can also download our Freedom Number worksheet. This worksheet will help you determine the amount of passive income you need to generate each year to sustain the lifestyle you have or the lifestyle you want when you no longer wish to work or simply want the freedom of your time and your money. So what about if you've ever get negative reviews? I'm sure it's going to happen. I mean, some people you just can't please, or maybe we've accidentally made a mistake or whatever. What do you do if you get a negative review?
So if you get a negative review, you want to go in and write a response and say publicly so that anybody that's reading it can see, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I will be sure to get this addressed in a timely manner. And sometimes even update if somebody says the refrigerator wasn't working good or this or that. We have since replaced the refrigerator and everything is in working order, because people are going to come back and ask. They're looking at that. If they see one thing that says something isn't working, then they're going to think automatically it's still not working unless you address it.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone back to any of those negative reviews and refunded money?
So really gonna get them to change their review over money most of the time. We have tried to talk to people whenever we had some issues that were out of our control with the water outage, and they agreed and said everything was okay, and we refunded them money, and then they still came back and wrote a bad review. Which of course we addressed and said, you know, we tried to accommodate you, we discounted your stay, you ended up paying only X amount of dollars for those nights. However, I'm sorry that you felt like this was not the vacation rental for you.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, if I feel it's going towards a bad review, I don't see any way that's going to stop, I will just ask them if they would like to leave and us refund the rest of their money, so that they're not stuck in a bad situation. Or can they let me come over and let's talk about it and get it straightened out?
In the 10 years you've been doing this, how many times has that happened?
3.
Wow.
I'm just curious, did the people leave or they stay?
They stay and
Yeah,
they like
don't
it.
really, it ain't that bad.
They just want, you know, a lot of times there's professional people, unfortunately, that are just looking for their money back.
Yeah, gotcha. One of the things I noticed recently with this, there was a review, brand new property. We were all excited about it, and there was a bad review because the porch light didn't work. And really what it was is Jimmy wanted to put this stupid fancy dimmer on it, and they didn't know it was a dimmer. So is it good? Is it important to keep things simple and not make them too complicated?
It is important to keep things simple, because if they're really complicated, because if you wrote a book on how to work all the dimmers and all the different things like that, people aren't going to read it all.
No.
They're just going to complain about it, because it was just a dimmer that had the porch light dimmed.
Yeah. And that was the only thing they had to complain about. So, what are some of the ways that you encourage people to write reviews? Because I know that's something people are always asking me to do, and I don't always do a good job of doing that. But what are some of the ways that you people could get guests to leave a positive review?
So if it's through one of the Airbnb or VRBO, a lot of times you leave them a review. They want to see the review, but in order to see the review, they've got to leave one. So that kind of prompts them in those OTAs to do it. We actually send out a survey to every single guest that stays with us, that they can go down through and answer. There's like 5 questions, because we don't make it too many, because they'll back out of it and go, I don't have time for this. And they answer those questions, and at the end, if they would like, they can post us a Google review. So
what percentage will do that, do you think?
Say about 75% will go ahead and post the review. And you know, there's a few people, I counted maybe 6 this year, that have actually put things on the survey that are helpful to us that we didn't know.
Oh, give me an example of something that somebody put on a survey that helped.
So at one of the units, we have this kitchen faucet that you can just swipe your hand under and the water will come on. Well, the only thing is if the battery goes dead, the water will not come on. So we kind of overcomplicated it a little bit. And
that must have been a Jimmy thing. He likes to overcomplicate our stuff, doesn't he?
I don't think I got
great.
the blame for that one, did I?
It's great when it works, but not so much whenever it works. And, you know, they just said at our age, that's not something that we really want. We just want to turn it on.
Yeah. That's great. Good point. Good point. I guess it is important too to kind of pay attention to your demographics a little bit too, huh?
Yes.
So what would you say our demographics typically are that do the renting
This is for Branson.
for Branson? Yeah,
Missouri.
Branson, Missouri. Yeah.
I would say that most of the time we're 40 and older.
Okay.
Where do
So
where do they come from? What are the main states?
Illinois, and that where Chicago is.
yep, Illinois.
Um, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Tennessee.
Wow, we got some great reach there. That's awesome. That's way cool. So what would be, is there any final, I'm gonna kind of wrap this up, and I want then at the end for you to kind of tell people, because we do manage for other people, you do manage for other people. So one, what advice would you give people if they're even thinking about going in the vacation rental business, or, you know, wanting to get their reviews up of their vacation rentals? What 2 or 3 bits of advice would you wrap this up and say to them?
I would say, remember that communication is the number one thing that you need in order to get good reviews, and to try to automate it as much as you can. You can, even if you're only listing on VRBO, you can create scheduled messages and get everything sent out, because it'll be so labor intensive if you're trying to send out all those messages individually.
Yeah, good point.
Michelle, I know that you used to manage multifamily units also. Which one's the easiest to do? Is it nightly rentals or is it multifamily?
It's multifamily. Nightly rentals is very labor intensive to me.
Yeah,
That's why I
a lot of
said,
moving parts in that, right?
A lot of moving parts, you know, a lot of different hats to wear to keep everything going. That's why a lot of time it's good for somebody to get help from some type of management company, or at least get somebody to help coach you
Yep.
as to what to do.
yeah, good points. Okay, so in wrapping up, if someone has one vacation rental or a couple vacation rentals in the Branson, Missouri area, and they're interested in management, and or they want to visit our vacation rentals in Branson, Missouri, how would they go about checking all that out?
And getting in touch with you.
Yeah.
So they can feel free to go to our website, which is www.bransonvacationretreats.com, and they can click on contact us, and that will send the message directly over to us. Or they can call us at 888-24-CABIN.
24-cabin. Love it. Awesome. Well, Michelle, you do a great job. I know reviews are super important to you, and they have really, really paid off big time. So I just want to remind everyone, remember, if you're just an ordinary person trying to figure out what's your avenue to create leverage and passive income for an extraordinary life, then there's just many, many ways to do it. Vacation rentals is just one of them. Remember, you don't have to be born Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, or Steve Jobs. You can just be an ordinary person and decide you want an extraordinary life. So Michelle, thank you. We appreciate you, one, on the front level of getting great reviews for the Branson Vacation Retreats. And Jimmy, I guess I'll see you next time.
All right. See ya. Thank you, Michelle. You
Thank
are
you,
awesome.
Michelle. You rock.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thanks for listening today. If you haven't already, please subscribe and share this podcast with others. The greatest compliment you can give us is to leave a 5-star review, and please feel free to reach out to us at info@lindamckissick.com. We would love to hear from you about any ideas, topics, or guests to include on our podcast. So see you next time.